There are precisely 7 statements that will make a narcissist step back from you, as if you've just presented a spiritual symbol to a dark entity. The great power of these statements is not that they are mean or hurtful, but rather because they are true. And narcissists, more than anything else, are deeply afraid of the truth. Let's be completely open about this fact. Most people fail, and fail horribly, when they try to confront a narcissist. Why? Because they willingly enter a conflict zone of the narcissist's choosing, belief, equipped with methods that are not only ineffective, but actually strengthen the opponent. You bring your feelings, your sense of justice, your wish for peace and understanding to the narcissist. These qualities are not tools for closeness. They are weaknesses to be exploited. Leaf, you're essentially attempting to have a reasonable conversation with a massive storm. It's a useless mission. The core mistake is simple. You think you're in a friendly discussion when you are, in reality, a psychological war. The narcissist builds an altered world. A twisted version of reality where they are the heroic, wronged center of the universe, and you are the defective, foolish, and constantly obligated supporting character. Every emotional burst you have, your frustration, your sorrow, your desperate pleas is you agreeing to use their map. You are confirming their warped reality by staying within its boundaries. And on that territory, they will always be victorious. The monumental shift in power happens the moment you stop reacting and start responding. An emotional reaction is a sudden, uncontrolled release of energy. It's the sudden jerk, the scream, the burst. A strategic response, on the other hand, is a quiet, thoughtful act of determination. It is the conscious choice to toss their map into the fire and to stand solidly on the foundation of what you know is real. This is where language becomes your most effective tool, not a heavy object to strike them with, but as the materials to construct a structure of reality so firm that their delusions simply can't break it. To understand why this works, you need to look closer. You must grasp what truly powers the engine of narcissism. What is a narcissist genuinely scared of beneath the grand displays and the self-praising speeches? It isn't your anger. It isn't your logic. It is simply being exposed. Their entire personality is a defense built piece by agonizing peace around a core of deep inadequacy and shame. It's a grand, sparkling fortress constructed to conceal a frightened, hurt inner self. This is not a justification for their actions, not at all. It is a key observation for your strategy. Their greatest fear is that someone will notice the flaws in the fortress wall, that someone will catch a glimpse of the pitiful reality they are trying so hard to hide. They live in constant fear of being truly seen. This is why certain words spoken with clarity and without hostility act as psychological triggers. These words don't attack the fortress. They simply light it up. They hold up a mirror. And in that mirror, the narcissist is forced to see not the godlike image they have of themselves, but the faint outline of the fraud they are terrified they might be. This is the deepest form of the psychology of shame. They are not scared you will harm them. They are afraid you will see them for what they are, and that this seeing itself will destroy the illusion they depend on for their very existence. I want you to really consider this for a moment. Take a pause and think, have you ever said something to a difficult person that made them instantly back off and you couldn't quite figure out why it worked? Maybe you were just wary. Perhaps you ran out of energy to argue and you said something simple and direct, and suddenly the chaos stopped. There's a method to this, a profound psychological truth. I want you to think about your own times this happened as we explore this further. What exactly did you say? What was your tone? And what was the outcome? You may have found this principle without even being aware of it. This leads us to the structure of verbal boundaries. Let's be absolutely clear, setting a boundary with language is not an act of aggression. Aggression is an attempt to control or hurt another person. Assertive truth-telling, which is what we are discussing, is an act of self-control. It is the refusal to let someone else determine your reality. Imagine it like a line marking property. Aggression is entering your neighbor's space. Setting a boundary is simply standing on your own ground and stating calmly and firmly, you are not allowed to cross this line. The statements themselves, which we'll get to, are only one part of the solution. Your tone and delivery are what give them their strength. A boundary yelled in anger is not a boundary. It's an invitation to a fight. It signals that you are still operating on the territory of emotion, and the narcissist will gladly join you there. But a boundary stated with the calm, steady finality of a mathematical fact, that is something their mind cannot easily deal with. It's like attempting to divide by zero. It breaks the established rules of the interaction. Your quiet confidence becomes a mirror reflecting their chaos, and it's a sight they cannot endure. So what happens when you learn to do this? What is the profound transformation waiting for you beyond this fear? It's not just about managing a difficult relationship. It's about a fundamental change in your own person. The respect you will start to receive from others, and most importantly from the narcissist, is not something they choose to give you. It is something that naturally appears as a result of your own self-respect. You stop being a piece in their game because you have chosen to stop playing. You begin the process of moving from being a character in their story to becoming the author of your own. And that truly is where genuine strength lies. Here's a thought that might make you feel uneasy. Narcissists don't disrespect you because you're feeble. They disrespect you because they sense you possess something they desperately want, but can never truly hold authentic self-worth. And that petrifies them. The selection of a target by a narcissist is not a random act of cruelty. It's a calculated hunting strategy, an instinct honed over a lifetime of seeking what they lack. Picture a pack of predators. They don't just attack any animal in the group. They observe, they test, they look for a specific combination of traits. And contrary to what you might assume, they are not typically drawn to the weakest members. They are often drawn to the strongest, to the ones with the most life force, because that is where the greatest reward lies. So, what qualities make you so powerfully appealing to a manipulator? First and foremost, your empathy, your capacity to feel, to understand, to give the benefit of the doubt. This is a foreign language to the narcissist, but one they know how to exploit. They view your empathy not as a strength, but as an unlocked entry point. Your competence is another signal. You excel at what you do. You have abilities. You have discipline. You achieve results. This competence is a resource they wish to take over and claim as their own. It supports their illusion of great importance. And finally, your integrity, your basic decency, your commitment to truth, your desire to do the right thing. This is perhaps the most powerful attraction of all, because you are honest. You assume others are too, because you are conscientious. You cannot easily imagine someone who acts without a conscience. Your strength, surprisingly, becomes your weakness. This is the terrible twist of the predator relationship. The very light you possess is what draws the darkness to you. The narcissist sees your integrated self, your genuine capacity for caring and achievement, and it is both a source of deep envy and a target for destruction. They want to consume it, and failing that, to destroy it so that its existence no longer reminds them of their own empty core. Once a target is chosen, the testing begins. And you must understand these are not obvious attacks, not initially. They are subtle probes, psychological tests designed to gauge your defenses. It might be a minor backhanded compliment. It might be a commitment that is quickly forgotten. It might be a joke made at your expense that is just sharp enough to hurt, but delivered lightly enough that if you object, you're the one deemed to have no sense of humor. Each of these is a small experiment. The narcissist is asking a silent question. Will you put up with this? Can I get away with this? Your reaction or lack of one is the data they collect. If you laugh it off, if you invent excuses for them, if you let it go for the sake of keeping the peace, you have just given them all the information they need. You have shown them the roadmap to your boundaries. And based on that data, they increase the violation. The forgotten promise becomes a broken agreement. The sarcastic joke becomes a humiliating insult in front of other people. It is a step-by-step gradual violation of your personal space. This is the crucial distinction between normal human disagreements and the calculated disrespect of a narcissist. In a healthy relationship, conflict arises and is resolved. It's a mutual process. With a narcissist, it isn't a conflict. It's a campaign. It is a systematic erosion of your standards, one small act of disrespect at a time, until you find yourself standing on ground you swore you would never give up. This increase is what I call the disrespect cycle, and it is a form of psychological manipulation as damaging as any ever conceived. It starts with a small offense. You feel a twinge of irritation, a sense of unfairness, but you ignore it. Why? Because you are a good person. You don't want to create a scene over something so minor, but that small violation, once accepted, becomes the new minimum standard for the relationship. The next violation will be a little larger, and the one after that larger still. The narcissist needs you to accept this rising pattern of poor treatment because it serves a vital purpose. It constantly confirms their warped reality. In their world, they are entitled to special treatment, and your acceptance of their disrespect is your silent agreement. You are being trained step by step to accept what is unacceptable. Each time you fail to hold the line moves. And what's truly unsettling is how quickly a person can adjust. The human mind is designed for adaptation, but that feature can be used against us. Disrespect, when it is constant and gradual, can begin to feel normal. The state of being on edge, of walking carefully, of constantly trying to manage their moods, this becomes your new normal. You forget what it felt like to be treated with simple, basic decency. The abnormal has been normalized. So why do good, caring, conscientious people so often struggle to even recognize this process as it's happening? The main reason is that your internal response patterns are working against you. Your natural desire for harmony, for smoothing things out, for seeing the best in people is a disadvantage in this scenario. You project your own decency onto them. You think they can't possibly mean it that way, or they're just having a rough day. You engage in a form of self-deception because that this person is deliberately and systematically disrespecting you is a thought too terrible to consider. This leads to a profound and weakening self-doubt. You start to question your own view of things. Am I being too sensitive? Am I overreacting? This is the narcissist's most effective trick to convince you that the problem isn't their behavior, but your reaction to it. You become an unreliable narrator in the story of your own life. But there comes a point, a breaking point. It might be a disrespect so clear so undeniable that it shatters the confusion of self-doubt. It is the moment when the combined weight of all the small violations comes too much to bear. It is a moment of frightening clarity when you see the pattern for what it is, and you realize with a certainty that chills you that something fundamental must change. And that change begins not with them, but with you. What I'm about to share with you are not insults or attacks. These are precise tools of truth. When you use these statements, you're not trying to hurt them. You are establishing reality. And for a narcissist, reality is the most dangerous weapon of all. Statement 1, I see what you're doing. There is perhaps no phrase more terrifying to a manipulator than this one. Why? Because their entire way of operating depends on the ability to deny their true intentions. They thrive in the confusion of ambiguity. The subtle hostile comment, the slight put down, the innocent question meant to create insecurity. These are their methods precisely because they can retreat from them. They can claim you misunderstood, that you're too sensitive. But the statement, I see what you're doing, cuts through that fog like a powerful light. It is a declaration that you are not fooled. You are not a piece in their game. You are a conscious observer of it. You are pulling back the curtain and revealing the pathetic little person operating the controls. This phrase requires no explanation. You don't need to detail what you see. The power is in the ambiguity of your awareness. It communicates the game is over. I know your moves. And in that moment, the power balance shifts permanently. You have taken away their main weapon, the disguise of pretended innocence. They are exposed. And exposure is a narcissist's deepest fear. Statement 2, that's not my responsibility. The narcissist is a master of delegating responsibility. Their failures, their bad moods, their chaotic lives, these are never their fault. They are a consequence of your failings, your lack of support, your inability to foresee their needs. They hand you the heavy burden of their own emotional and practical problems and expect you to carry it. The phrase, that's not my responsibility, is you handing that burden right back. It is a radical act of boundary setting. It draws a clear and distinct line around your own personal authority. It states that you will be responsible for your own actions and emotions, belief, and they must be responsible for theirs. This will feel strange at first, especially if you are a caring and conscientious person. You are naturally inclined to help, but you must learn the crucial difference between helping someone and enabling them. Carrying their emotional burdens for them is not helping, it is enabling their problem. When you refuse to take responsibility for their issues, you are not being unkind. You are forcing them, perhaps for the very first time, to face the results of their own choices. It is a freedom for both you and in a strange and difficult way for them. Statement 3, I won't be spoken to that way. This is not a request. It is a rule. It is the establishment of a fundamental standard for respectful communication. Narcissists systematically lower your standards of treatment through increasing disrespect. They test you with small insults, and when you tolerate them, they escalate. This phrase stops that process immediately. It is vital that this is delivered with calm finality, not with anger. Anger says, you've hurt me. Calm finality says, that is a line you will not cross. There is a world of difference. One invites a fight, the other ends a violation. This is not a threat. A threat is, if you speak to me that way, a boundary is simply a statement of what you will and will not accept. I won't be spoken to that way requires no further justification. It is a fundamental declaration of self-worth. It says, I am a person who deserves basic respect, and that is the admission price for interacting with me. Statement 4, Your feelings about this are not my problem. Narcissists turn their emotions into weapons. Their rage, their tears, their sulking, their dramatic displays of victimhood, these are not genuine expressions of feeling. They are manipulative strategies designed to control your behavior. They want you to rush around trying to manage their emotional state, to satisfy their anger, to comfort their manufactured hurt. They make you believe that their emotional stability is your duty. This phrase cuts that manipulative connection. It is a profound declaration of emotional independence. It says, you are a capable adult and you are solely responsible for your own emotional reactions. This will feel incredibly harsh because decent people feel a responsibility to the emotions of others. But you must understand you are not responsible for regulating the feelings of another adult. By refusing to participate in their emotional drama, you are returning self-determination to them. You are forcing them to sit with their own feelings instead of using them as a tool to control you. It is a powerful game-changing statement that breaks down one of their most effective control methods. Statement 5, I don't need to justify myself to you. Have you ever found yourself in a never-ending argument with a narcissist, endlessly explaining and defending your decisions, your feelings, your very existence? This is a deliberate trap. They act as the prosecutor, and you are placed on the witness stand. They demand that you explain yourself. And the more you explain, the more ammunition you give them to twist your words and find new ways to attack. It's a game you can never win. Over-explaining is a position of weakness. It signals that you believe their approval is necessary for your decisions to be valid. The phrase, I don't need to justify myself to you, is your refusal to take the stand. It communicates that you are the ultimate authority in your own life. Your decisions are yours. Your reasons are yours. You do not require their validation or their permission. Standing in the quiet confidence of your own choices without the desperate need for their endorsement is an incredibly powerful position. Statement 6N. This conversation is over. This is the emergency escape. It is the tool you use when a discussion has become a confusing, circular, an exhausting speech designed to dominate and confuse you, not to communicate. You are not required to participate in a conversation that is going nowhere. You are not obligated to be an audience for their twisted logic and manipulation. Stating this conversation is over and then physically removing yourself by walking out of the room or ending the call is the ultimate proof of a verbal boundary. It demonstrates that your time and mental energy are valuable resources that you will not waste on pointless, harmful interactions. It shows through action that you mean what you say. Statement 7A, I'm not interested in your opinion of me. This is the ultimate blow to the core of the narcissistic dynamic. The entire relationship from their perspective is based on their role as the judge and you as the one being judged. They need you to need their approval. They need you to fear their disapproval. Their opinion is the currency of their power. When you state calmly and as a simple fact that their opinion of you is irrelevant, you have just bankrupted their entire system. You have declared your independence from their judgment. This is not something you say in a moment of frustration. It is a statement of achieved self-validation. It says, I know who I am. I have my own moral compass. I have my own sense of worth. And your evaluation is simply no longer required. This is the ultimate freedom. It is the moment you stop looking to them for a reflection of yourself and find it within. The reason these phrases are so devastating to narcissists is not that they are cruel. but because they destroy the fundamental lie that their entire personality is built upon. And when you grasp this lie, you'll understand why your words have the power to completely disarm them. To understand the power of these statements, you must first grasp the monumental and unstable structure of the narcissistic mind. The narcissist has built what is best described as a false self, a grand and inflated persona designed for one purpose and one purpose only: to constantly seek a stream of outside affirmation, which they call narcissistic supply. This false self is a made-up character, heroic, brilliant, uniquely victimized, and supremely important. But here is the crucial point. It is a structure with no solid foundation. It is a hollow image. And like any false idol, it requires constant worship from the outside world to maintain the illusion of its importance. This endless need for affirmation is not just arrogance. It is a desperate, necessary component of their existence. Without the reflection of admiration in the eyes of others, the false self begins to collapse, threatening to reveal the emptiness it was built to hide. This is why a simple challenge, a boundary, or a refusal to cooperate is not seen as a minor disagreement. To the narcissist, it is a major threat to their entire psychological structure. It is a crack in the idol when you say, "I see what you're doing," or "that's not my responsibility." You are refusing to provide the worship the false self requires. You are, in that moment, a non-believer, and your dissent threatens to reveal to the narcissist, and even worse, to the world, that their God is a fake. This is the critical difference between healthy self-confidence and pathological grandiosity. The confident person has an internal source of control. Their self-worth is generated from within based on ability and experience. The grandiose person has an external source of control. Their sense of self is a fragile reflection, completely dependent on the opinions and reactions of others. Your words of truth don't challenge their strength. They expose their absolute and terrifying weakness. So, what is hidden beneath this dazzling, grandiose mask? What is the terrible secret that the fortress of narcissism is built to protect? It is a core of profound, completely unmitigated shame. At the center of the narcissist is a deeply ingrained belief in their own worthlessness and inadequacy. This is the unhealed wound, the primary terror from which their entire personality is aflight. They have spent their lives running from this shame, building an elaborate alternate reality where they are the opposite of everything they fear themselves to be. The verbal tools we've discussed are so effective because they bypass the grandiose fortress walls and speak directly to this hidden core of shame. When you refuse to accept blame, you are holding up a mirror to their own culpability. When you refuse to manage their emotions, you force them to confront their own internal chaos. When you refuse to seek their approval, you quietly reveal that their judgment is worthless. Each of these actions is a form of exposure. Exposure to the narcissist immediately triggers an overwhelming activation of this core shame. It is the feeling of being seen not as the glorious idol they pretend to be, but as the flawed, despicable being they secretly believe they are. This is a psychological state they cannot tolerate. Their defenses are specifically designed to avoid this feeling at all costs. To be truly seen is to be destroyed. Your simple, clear statements of reality pierce the disguise and force a confrontation with the very thing they have spent a lifetime trying to outrun. How does a narcissist maintain power in a relationship? Primarily through the strategic use of confusion and doubt. They are experts at the word salad, leaf, the circular argument, the manipulation that makes you question your own sanity. They create a fog of emotional and intellectual chaos in which you lose your sense of direction. In that confused state, they are in control. They define reality because you have become detached from it. Clear, direct language is the counter agent to this poison. Phrases like, this conversation is over, or I don't need to justify myself, are acts of radical clarity. They refuse to enter the fog. They refuse to play the game of mental gymnastics. You are planting a flag in the solid ground of reality and refusing to be pulled into their swamp of confusion. By refusing to take part in their games, you make them powerless. Their control mechanisms depend entirely on your participation. Once you withdraw that participation, their tactics are revealed for what they are: pathetic and obvious attempts at manipulation. Boundaries force them to face a reality that is not of their own making. And this is a territory where they are weak and ineffective. There is a powerful psychological effect that occurs when you respond to a narcissist's chaos with unshakable calm. Your centered response acts as a mirror. Narcissists are experts at projection. They take the undesirable parts of themselves, their rage, their incompetence, their dishonesty, and project them onto you. They accuse you of being angry when they are the ones raging. They call you manipulative when they are the ones playing games. This allows them to avoid confronting their own darkness. But when you respond with calm, assertive truth, you interrupt this process. You refuse to accept the projection. You hold up a mirror, and the ugliness they tried to cast onto you is reflected directly back at them. Your calmness highlights their chaos. Your rationality illuminates their irrationality. Your integrity exposes their lack of it. This mirroring effect forces them for a brief and terrifying moment to see themselves as they truly are. The discomfort this creates is immense. They are confronted with an accurate reflection of their own dysfunctional state, and it is a sight they cannot stand. Your refusal to be their emotional dumping ground forces them to sit in their own disorder. This is not merely a battle of wits or a psychological game. It has a real, measurable impact on a psychological level.